Welcome to the CG. Hello, welcome to the CG Pro podcast. This is episode 74 with Gorka Aranzaba, and Gorka is our special guest for today. He is a independent game developer, founder and CEO of Gorka Games Studios, and has in a short time done an amazing number of things. I'm looking forward to getting into those today. If you enjoy today, you can follow us at becomecgpro.com or in our free Facebook group. And with that said, one more announcement. We do have an open day coming up on July the 9th. So sign up for that if you want to come and check it out. We've a Mad Max theme to this open day. So come and check out some cool art and meet the CG Pro team. And with that said, Gorka, it's a great pleasure to have you with us today. Thanks for joining us.
Hey everyone, it's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you here. And you are beaming in from sunny and, getting into evening time, Lanzarote.
So from the Canary Islands here in Spain, weather is nice. Maybe there's some wind in the background, but it will add, I guess, to the, tropical atmosphere. So, I guess it will show that with game that you can also work from everywhere, right? So that's cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, really, really great point that the world has become a very connected place and that we can do this live across that expanse of the planet, and also that you're able to do what you do, not having to be in Irvine in California in a place with lots of game studios. You're representing a I think somewhat new movement in indie game development, and I'm really looking forward to getting into that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about you and how you got started with all of this. Was this something? I know that you started when you were like 8 years old, but it was a bit like me with computer graphics. So I was around a similar kind of age. But what was there something in particular that made you want to get started with actually making your own games? I know you're probably playing them, but there's a big transition to actually start creating them yourself. What was it that got you going with actually making your own games?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I began pretty early. At 8, I began interested, in basically programming and making my own games. Really, the start comes from just one day thinking, what a cool feature will be, to add into this game, right? And, we need to wait until the developers listen to us and the game studios listen to us and implement it, right? So it was like, what if I could just like make my own game? Things like that, right? So it was literally just a random day, a random Google search, right, on how to kind of get started with games, and just finding out that this huge programming and coding universe is out there. I also have to mention that from the start, my dad has really is always really in the tech world, right, and he also pushed me to overall learn programming because I mean, look at it right now. With AI and all this stuff, it's really a big industry moving on. So really, like it was just overall wanting to try something new. Mini Gorka. Just wanting to do something different.
Was there a particular game that got you interested, or one that kind of really tipped you over into thinking, no, I don't just want to consume this, I want to actually do it?
Good question. I mean, there's probably a list of games that I can think of. On top of my head, what is it? Probably like Minecraft. In the early days, like I guess that a lot of people, especially playing on console, right? That there's no mods, things like that. It was like I just want to go ahead and add my own new animal running around my farm. Some of that. So I guess probably that game was the one that kind of set the bar for me in terms of this thought on adding new things into games.
Right. Because I guess that it's customizable by nature. It's like it's a game designed to do that, right?
Yeah. I mean, in PC, of course, that game has its own, community of modders and things like that. But on console, it was purely, at least back in the day, limited to what the studio would add. And me and others wanted to add new things, and overall, you know, it's how we ended here, I guess.
Right. Yeah, no, that's it's really interesting just to think of the points in time that inspired you to want to make a decision, to switch over. It sounds like
Yeah.
you got some inspiration from your dad and the things that he'd
Yes.
experienced and his encouragement, which is awesome. But also your own experiences and wanting to pursue it. What did you start by doing? Obviously customizing Minecraft, but what were some early things that you did in terms of maybe programming or modding? That's, as you said, is something hard to do on consoles, but PC modding's been going for a long time. What were some early kind of things that you started to explore?
Yeah, so actually, I didn't even begin with modding Minecraft or any game. Basically, I began just learning the fundamentals of programming. I
Mm.
mean, also I got feedback from my dad, and what we did was basically search for simple online kind of websites to learn to code and program. So I don't remember the names or anything like that, but it was basically some little websites out there that used like games, very simple in 2D to learn how to make code, right? By blogs. It wasn't even like text, because I was like at the time, as we mentioned, 8 years old. So really, it was just these websites to kind of learn the logical thinking of coding, using blogs or things like that. And it wasn't until a bit later, it was when I was like 10 or something like that I began, getting like an actual teacher slash mentor and moved into Unity. So I also began using Unity as a game engine pretty early, with help of this kind of teacher slash mentor. And that's really what I, got serious about game dev in general and really began to, pick up things and so on. So yeah, basically the transition was kind of at 10 years old when I was like starting to decide that this is a thing that I want to do a bit more, and take it more seriously, right?
Right. So stepping into Unity, where it's quite rich and as an environment, but quite technical, and you have to learn. Don't have to learn code for everything that you want to do, but you have to get into C
Yeah.
sharp and being able to make things be the way you want them to be.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a jump, of course, like I mentioned, from this, websites of just using blogs to actual code C sharp. That's why it was fundamental for me, and to just pick up a teacher and actually sit and learn. So of course, like everyone, it took a couple of years to kind of understand how code as C sharp works, how to use it within Unity, and so on. It took a bit of time, right? But I think I picked up pretty fast and managed to make some cool stuff pretty early. And I think the key really is just a teacher early on, right? um, Especially as me, I was 10 years old. Now maybe, honestly, probably with resources and tutorials online, I could manage to kind of learn to code in my own, right? But some years ago, I guess that having that extra aid as an actually someone tutoring you was like a basically like a boost, right? It was like accelerating my learning by a lot, you know.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. I did the same thing myself, and I found that even
That's great.
having information out there, it still
Yeah.
really helps having a mentor, because I feel like some point today there's so much information out there, knowing which is the right information can be the tricky part.
That's true. That's true. You need to be careful out there, to get from the correct resources and so on. But there's also a lot of cool, talented people out there that will make awesome content and tutorials for free. So always those opportunities are great. Even though maybe his coding skills are not the best, it's out there for free. So that's always a plus. And you can also kind of learn on how to actually tune it in into your own workflow and be sure that actually what you're learning is in the correct way. But yeah, you need to be careful out there. That's for sure.
With with the first kind of teachers that you had, were they through school, or did you have to go outside of that framework and
Oh yeah,
find
no, everything
independent?
was out of school. it was basically online, right? It was this, it was Spanish, so it was gonna easier for me to gonna have a direct communication with that, and overall, yeah, it was outside of school, um, and yeah, it was yeah when I was 8, no 10, and I was with that teacher until what I was like until I was 13. I know 14. I was until I was 14, and so it was 4 years of just overall tutoring online.
Right. Amazing. With some of the stuff that you were making in Unity, how did you kind of get that out there, or if you like, were you making things and publishing your own little games? Was it more kind of you for your own sake in the beginning? How did it start to grow?
Yeah, so I'm a very motivated person, right? Very ambitious. So instantly when I started making games with Unity, and I saw that actually you could make like actual cool games in there, right? I was like instantly wanting to make an actual game and release it. Of course, first of all, I needed to understand how the engine works. So first of all, was some projects just for me, right, to learn. Making like a mini game with tanks or whatever, and then another thing. And later on is where I actually began working on a serious project. So it was basically like 3 years later from picking up Unity seriously, where I decided to actually embark in an actual like commercial project, and it's where I basically went ahead and developed a small little game on Steam, which is actually available right now, which is like a survival game, and it's basically that's basically my first like serious project, let's say, right out in the market, we could say.
Amazing. And it was all you, all done by yourself.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean there was some help and assistance from my teacher, which is still that was with me at the time. But of course, let's say 95% of the code and everything was mine. So yeah.
Amazing. And how did that uh, at some point transition into Unreal Engine? Are you still
Yes.
using both, or like, do you have a
Yeah,
preference?
good question. So basically, Unreal Engine 5 came out, what it was like in 2021, something like that, 2022, right? So I stepped into Unreal a bit early, actually, a bit early than Unreal Engine 5. So basically, I was very happy with Unity. It was working just fine for me. But, always Unreal Engine attracted me, right? I guess that is just that reputation that it has with looking, absolutely amazing, with literally low things in the level, right? So I went and picked up Unreal. Now the transitioning from Unity to Unreal, surprisingly, was very straightforward. I think that just overall, already having that knowledge on how to code doesn't matter if it was in C sharp, if it was in C++, if it was in Python, right? Just overall learning the fundamentals of coding and the computable thinking, right, they need to do. The transition to blueprints, for example, right, was very, very straightforward. Literally with a, what was it, with a 40-minute tutorial on YouTube, I could by myself transition to Unreal. And from there is where I started, let's say, mastering Unreal. I fell in love with it. I think that it's much more, let's say, made for games than Unity. And instantly I gotta like put in the boost. And then with Unreal Engine 5, I saw a huge opportunity, let's say, out there in the market and for game devs to learn this new like branded game engine. And it's where I actually started uploading tutorials on YouTube, right? And that's where I got the grind on and began on my journey on basically uploading a video every single day. And I think that that's really where everything started, in terms of my name as Gorka right now. So yeah, it was a straightforward transition for me, but of course, a lot of previous years of learning coding in general, right?
Right. That's really, yeah, really interesting and important point, I think, about programming that often scares a lot of people away from it, is thinking that they pigeonhole themselves into one language and that then they'd have to relearn it completely to go to another one. But as you say, is that they're actually very similar. Almost all of them have the same components to it, which makes it not so hard to swap between those different
Yeah,
things.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I believe that there's this thing where from if you know how to kind of let's say take the skill of coding itself, you can adapt it really, really, really easily into other game engines, into other software, and other stuff. Really, for example, even not only just coding, right? But even let's take just the 3D world, right? We could transition very easily from Unreal to Blender, right? I mean, we have the same things: the viewport, we have the kind of the details tab with your tools, and so on, right? Of course, there's some things that you need to learn, shortcuts, and overall there's some axes that they messed up, right? They're different, but overall, is once you got the base on overall game dev is pretty straightforward to transition between game engines. That's why I'm not scared. Right now, I could pick up Godot and learn it, right? Very not very easily, but in no time. And that's why I encourage game devs to try out game engines. You're not stuck with only Unreal if you start with Unreal on you only Unity from the start. You can go ahead and play around maybe a couple months even this game engine and then transition, right? Of course, I believe that Unreal Engine is the best one out there, but it's your decision, and there's not really any. I guess you don't need to have that threat, in your heart when picking up a game engine from the start, or in general a language or something like that, right?
Right. Yeah, it's very encouraging for people to hear that. I think that when you learn something that these skills are very transferable, as you're saying. You learn something in one area and it opens it. Even outside of games, you can learn something. The things that you're learning and you have learned in programming and in 3D, they're all applied to a huge number of industries now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's why it doesn't really matter, even if it's not even coding. It could be 3D in general, from Unity to Blender or something similar. So I guess that's really also like one of the strengths on overall the industry here on let's say 3D, right?
Like, yeah, the demand for these skills, I think, is on the increase. But so it sounds like it was the point at which you picked up Unreal that was the point that you started doing the tutorials and creating your YouTube channel, which has become really successful. What uh, what was the? Do you remember the moment that you decided to start your own YouTube channel and why you wanted to do it?
Yeah, I remember that exactly. So, I mean, the YouTube channel, I have it also since I was 8 years old. So I guess that when I was eight, I don't know, I had this, I got this, boost in my ambition, right? And did like a lot of things. But overall, of course, I uploaded, just me playing games, being dumb, right? And it was until I, like I mentioned, began with Unreal Engine 5, where I saw this huge opportunity to teach people, this new game engine and to this new game that's out there, right? So basically, the day that I decided was again just a random day. I was on YouTube and I, had this video popped up on my feed, which was from vidIQ. It's basically like this channel where it helps you to grow your YouTube things, things like that. And I essentially, just clicked on the video, and it was like how to gain, 1,000 subscribers in a month or something like that, right? And I was like, wait, why don't I try like seriously to create content? And I think that now that I just saw that Unreal Engine 5 came out, and a lot of people was like requesting learning resources, I was like, I guess that this is a huge opportunity. Like, why wait like a month or something like that. So that same day, I went up, opened up OBS, right? Opened up Unreal Engine, and just decided on a tutorial, which I still remember, which is how to add wind into your Quixel grass.
Very
Right,
topical.
straight to the point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just went and I started to upload. And that day, I also decided that I would like be very consistent and upload every single day. And I
Ah,
pretty much managed to keep that over these 2 years. Now, lately, I've changed a bit my schedule, right? My style, because I mean, I have been making bigger videos, and I want to kind of give more exposure to this kind of bigger videos that I upload by leaving some space and not like instantly upload another video the next day. But let's say a month ago, I still had that rhythm of a video pretty much every single day. So I guess that is just the you know decisioning something and discipline, let's say, and it's really how you progress, with these things.
Right. You found it helped you as well making those videos.
Oh yeah, I mean, of course, making I have nearly 700 tutorials.
Wow.
Also like boosted my learning in Unreal, of course. I mean, also, to be honest, I don't know everything about Unreal. No one knows everything about
No.
Unreal or game dev, right? So, for new tutorials that I wanted to achieve or new features that came out, I also need to learn them myself in order to show to the people how it's done. So, of course, that kept me pushing, and overall, let's say master more the game engine itself.
Right. So it gives you a reason to learn the thing and have to learn it thoroughly in order to be able to make the
Exactly.
video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, it's really a silly way of saying that it obligates you to learn it correctly so you can explain it correctly, right? In terms of kind of understanding it a bit to implement it in your game, let's say.
Right. Yeah, it's the gift of teaching is that you have to or you should learn something properly so that you can relate it to somebody else.
That's
And
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I often find I run a school at this point, so I very much resonate with that and having to that's one of the gifts of it. Being able to help people is wonderful and very rewarding. Something I found a bit later on in life, but yeah, the gift is also somewhat selfish. Makes you can make you better at it. What do you have any advice for people starting out with wanting to create their own YouTube channel specifically?
Yeah, so definitely. I think that also, apart from just overall people that want to create a YouTube channel for anything, I think that in the game dev world, there is a huge opportunity here. Like I'm doing to educate people or also promote your own game, which is essential these days, which, there's a huge competition, right? I think that one of the strongest marketing tools right now is basically devlogs with YouTube. So for the people that want to just overall start to make videos on YouTube, I believe that the first thing they should do is find their niche. Right? Everyone says that, but it's true. You need to specialize on one thing. You cannot just go all over the place. So, for example, in my case, it was teaching Unreal Engine 5. Right? For you, it might be creating challenge videos on making a game in 24 hours, things like that. There's also a lot of popular videos on that topics, right? So is first of all find your niche, and then just go ahead and get to work, right? I mean, like I said, my trick was to kind of set myself a goal, and upload a video every single day. And I also went ahead and did this in summer, so it was easier for me because I would have more time, right? So also a bit the kind of the convenience, but there's a very I think strong piece of advice here, which is overall, if you want to start a YouTube channel, start now. Like why wait? Like I said before, as soon as I saw that video popped up in my feed, I instantly went ahead and made the video. Right, I didn't wait into this idea of creating videos for 2 months. I never did it, right? I mean, right now, for these people right now in the podcast, right? If you want to start to create, your YouTube channel and market your game or, educate people, go ahead and create it right now. Start working on that video. Start to type your, ideas into the Notion board or whatever you have to manage your things, and open up OBS, start recording, and that's it. Doesn't matter if the quality of the video isn't what you want still, and you need to learn editing or whatever. There's a lot of approaches to deal with that. But overall, the best way to kind of get better is practicing, right? I mean, you know, my first video was fine, but I mean, after 700 videos, pretty much, my way of teaching and recording and everything has, let's say, improved, right? I mean, and that comes from practicing. So for everyone that wants to, for example, create a YouTube channel, go ahead, find your niche, put in the discipline, right? You will actually post, regularly, and start now. Why wait?
fantastic advice, and I think advice that applies to all sorts of things, not just YouTube videos, but games too. I imagine I've not
Yes,
made many of them
exactly.
myself, but yeah. Would you say it's fairly similar with making your own game?
Yeah, I think it's very, very similar. I mean, the same concept, right? You have this game idea and you don't know how to make games. Start to learn how to make games, right? Open up YouTube, pick up a good tutorial. I mean, I'm not saying that you should go to my channel, but I have good content there, right? And
You should go
just
to his
start.
channel.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying I have over nearly 700 tutorials out there, so it's a huge library, right? I think it's a huge opportunity for you to learn. But yeah, overall is just I guess planning out your journey and starting right now. I think that's the trick, really. With discipline and motivation, right? I think that discipline is more important than motivation. Motivation comes in a short term, and at the beginning is what you need to get started and to light up that discipline that you need for the rest of the day. I mean, for example, in my case, there's days that I don't want to make a video. There's days that I didn't want to edit a 3 hour masterclass that I did. Things like that. But it's just the discipline that keeps you going. The same for making a game, right? Maybe one day you don't want to code that replicated inventory system using C++ structs and sync it into, I don't know, Amazon servers for your MMO, right? But you need to do it, right? And it's the only way to keep going. So overall, I guess that really that's I guess the trick to keep going, and complete tasks, especially your game.
Right. Yeah, no, I want to ask you more about that. You have a good number of your followers here saying some very cool stuff in the chat, just so you know, and
Nice.
we got
Yeah,
some
I cannot
questions
really see
coming up.
this because I have only one tab opened, which is the platform for streaming. But I imagine there's some people here. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, there's definitely got some friends here saying nice things about your what you do and what you contribute to the world and how you've inspired them. So and some questions
Nice.
coming up as well. I'll bring up in a second.
Yes.
One interesting comment from somebody says the Unreal Master is an actual real person.
I'm a real person. I'm not AI or a robot. Here I am.
Yep, absolutely. And but I want to ask you about one of the points you just made, because that the D word, discipline, is a really and versus motivation, because the motivation doesn't last, right? It's something which can
Yes.
kick you off in a moment, but what you need to finish something that, like a movie that could take 4 years to make, or a game that might take longer than that to make,
Yeah.
is that how do you approach discipline? How do you approach those moments? Because we all have them where we have a challenging time, or you just don't feel well, or you don't feel like you want to do the thing you want to do that day, you're supposed to do that day. How do you get yourself through those challenging moments with discipline?
Yeah, good question. I mean, well, from the start, on every case, I have my own goal, right? I want to achieve something, right? And from very little, we all have our goals or whatever we want to do. Um, but overall, I guess that it's just remembering yourself where you want to go, right? And I mean, everyone has their own route to do this, their own way to do this, and their own time to do this. For me, for example, it was beginning, let's say, my game dev journey and starting up the videos daily on my YouTube channel, right? Overall, I guess that when, for example, there's a day that you don't want to do a video, is to always look at your progress. There's always progress that has been made. In my case, for example, let's take an example where I was starting up, and I got my first, let's say 1,000 subscribers, right? Maybe from there also there was days that I didn't want to upload a video, right? Because it's hard to upload a video every day. But I looked back at all the progress that I made from the start, and all the progress that I still have to go, that I personally want to achieve. And it's just, okay, let's keep pushing. I know that it's gonna take me some time today to make this video, and I don't really want to. I want to go to the beach or whatever, right? But let's go ahead, take a moment, grind it up, and later on the results will start to show up. Really, it's a thing on long term and not so much on short term, right?
Yeah,
But yeah, I guess the best trick is to look at your current progress that you have done. You have advanced. Let's keep pushing.
right. So it's encouraging to look at the things that you have done and not focus too much on a big goal that's a way out,
Mm.
because that can be daunting. But just look at the things that you've already accomplished and know that you're going to continue to accomplish
Yeah,
things at that rate, but not wish the thing that's maybe 2 years away to happen today, because that can be
yeah.
frustrating. Yeah,
Yeah, I guess that for you is the same thing. You create this really cool big events, and so on. So I guess that you have your goals of making even bigger events, teaching more people, things like that, right? So I
yeah.
guess that everyone is really related to what I said here, and overall this discipline factor, I guess.
I put things on the wall. I've got things up on the wall right here that are things that I've done before, and then some things next to it that are things that I want to do. And if
Oh, nice.
I
That's a
can
good trick.
see, like, I did those, I got those done, and then at one point I thought I would never do them, but I did. And then those things next to it were like, yeah, I don't think I can do those, but if I did those, then maybe I could do those. So that's a good way of
There you
trick
go.
my
That's a
brain.
nice trick.
Yeah.
People need to take notes on that. Yeah, yeah. I might even kind of point it up for myself. Yeah. I don't really have them like necessarily written down. I always have them in my head. But also another key thing is, I guess, visualization. And it's
Mm,
just every single day I go out to my, literally here, right, in the outdoor, right, and I just start to think and visualize, me achieving goals, keep on the progress and all this stuff. And I do this every single day. It doesn't matter if it's here on the shower, But from very little, I guess is just in my head, always thinking on I want to do this and I want to do this, and literally when you start to I guess to achieve those things, is visualization, like let's say, gets bigger in your head and you start to imagine things more precisely and they start to become true. Let's say, right. So I guess that a true factor is to believe it, right? Believe your game releasing out there on Steam and being on the highlighted page, right? Believing you in the, I don't know, the E3 event. Right now it's not anymore, but a similar one, right? And you there in the stage announcing your game with your game trailer appearing on the screen, everyone clapping, right? And being like on IGN or things like that, right? It's overall believing that you would do it, like actually truly believing, and you know, as a matter of work, you will achieve it. So that's, I think, also a very important factor, right? When related to game dev, I guess.
yeah, amazing. Did somebody teach you that concept, or did you figure it out?
Well, from very little, my dad is a very good mentor.
Mm,
he always
sounds like it.
told me to, yeah. So even like maybe not, of course, necessarily on game dev, right? But on, for example, let's say very little at school, where I had like a sports tournament or an exam or something like that, right? It was to go, breathe in, do some like relaxation, techniques, and visualize you going ahead and picking up that trophy in that sports event or whatever similar. So really, my dad very little introduced me kind of this mindset or this technique, let's say, of visualization. And I guess that instantly, subconsciously, it came into me, right? And since then, every single day I'm like over there just visualizing different things going on. And for example, me presenting a game on an event, things like that, right? Everyone has their own kind of, let's say, goals that they want to achieve. So that's a good technique that worked for me.
Wow, amazing. Well, sounds like you've got a great dad, and if dad's listening, got lots of good dad points there for
Yeah,
sure.
probably we'll listen to it afterwards, something like that. Yeah.
Fantastic. I want to bring up a couple questions that are coming in.
Yes.
So somebody's asking, uh, which part of Unreal was the hardest for you to learn? Niagara, animations, etc. AI
Good
is
question.
mentioned.
Yeah. I mean, each part of, I mean, Unreal is a very, very, very big engine, and it has many of its things. And many of its things, I don't, I maybe master them a bit, right, but not entirely. So let's say, for example, I guess that you know, Niagara is hard, right? And for me, for example, I can make some basic particles, right? But more than that is hard, right? I think that's honestly Niagara is one of the hardest. Behavior trees AI is also like a big thing overall, and but really, what I think that is the hardest part about Unreal is joining all of that, right? You have all the sections of animation, 3D modeling, blueprints, code, and overall, just joining everything into one and making sure that they work is, I guess, the hardest part. Having like a natural end, like kind of result working, right? And also, I guess that the hardest part was stepping up in terms of blueprints, so things like practices like not having all your code in one character blueprint, right? Splitting everything into multiple actor components, using databases. Overall, it's just learning more, let's say, parts about Unreal and knowing how to combine them and use them all together. I think that's really the hardest part. There's no specific one, but it's overall making everything just sync together, right? And in my case, I think it was kind of that area, right, where you step up a bit into more of an advanced level and start to use more of their cool, features in Unreal.
Right. And somebody's asking, where do you find collaborators? I guess on the games or projects that you're
Oh
working on.
yeah, yes. So for example, I make, for the people that don't know, I participate, every so often in game jams, or recently I released a video where I invited 10 game devs to like compete on a video to make the best game under an hour, things like that. Overall, I do it in my Discord server. So the link will be available in all my videos. And basically, we actually have a huge Unreal community in the Discord server. There's nearly 8,000 members, and I'm super happy with the community there because it's just a huge, let's say, list of Unreal developers that are helping each other, sharing their games, their progress, and every so often I go there, go to, like, for example, the showcase channel, and you see what cool devs are making, right? And for example, I see this specific Discord member that did, I don't know, this kind of prototype looking like Uncharted. I said, that's a cool one. I'm gonna reach out to him and possibly just invite him to a video later on, or maybe he's talented and I'm about to work on a project later on, or in a game jam. So I guess that Discord and also Twitter, right? But mainly for people involved in my community, Discord.
Amazing. Well, that ties into a little bit to another question that came up from our own Lily Tuttle. She is asking, do you find it hard to not be connected to the game industry where you currently live versus being, say, in a more concentrated area of game companies like Southern California or
Yeah,
wherever
good
else?
question. Good question. Well, actually, not really. I mean, first of all, is that I've been, living all my life in the Canary Islands, right? In this little island. Of course, I've, gone to different parts, like, let's say, that are more connected, like even Silicon Valley itself, right? Where I was crazy, right? All these tech companies over there. So I haven't tried the other side of, actually like living, and working there. But from what I've experienced and from what a lot of other people in our community say, it doesn't really matter because now the online world is just so big that you can do everything from from where you want, right? Especially game dev. Game dev. The majority of studios lately, especially indies, right, all work online, right? They don't have like a
Right.
set studio anymore, right? I mean, I'm speaking very broadly, but there's a very very big number of serious studios right now that work all online and they don't have like a set studio. So I think that's really important. That you don't need to spend all that money if you want to make like a studio on renting an office and all this stuff. You can do it online in a Discord call, right? Organize everything from there. So I think that's very important.
One of the silver linings of COVID is everybody realized that we could do that.
Yeah, well, the only good thing I guess
Yeah.
about that.
pushed a lot of things forward in remote working, and lots of virtual
Yeah.
production made huge advances
Yes. In that terms,
during it.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Everything that you difficult that you go through is always a gift. Somebody's saying here he's like the Tony Robbins of indie game dev right now. That's a funny quote. All
Yeah,
the
I think I went motivated myself a lot there in my speech, but yeah.
it's really important, I think, for people to understand that it's what's possible. I think you're showing that example to people of what's possible, and also how you do it, breaking it down to something that's really quite straightforward. It's not people's. I think often look at people who've achieved bigger things and think that there's some magic to them. And I'm not saying there's not any magic to you, but the way you're breaking it down is sharing with people that it's habits, and those are quite fairly straightforward. And
Yeah.
I think that's the
Yeah,
useful part.
absolutely. I see that all the time. People like, for example, in the comments in my video saying, "Oh, I would love to have my game out there in Steam selling, and YouTubers play it." And it's like, well, you actually can. It's
Mm.
just getting to it. It's not so much about thinking it. Also, of course, like I explained before, but actually, starting up and getting to it. So everyone can achieve it. I'm a normal person like everyone. Like it's just going ahead and get into it, I guess.
I love that about this conversation about how relatable it is. It's very practical advice that you're giving to people, basically, and talking about the habits, the things that you do daily, the visualization, the goal setting, the many things that Tony Robbins does talk about, but in this context, it applies the
Yeah,
same
well,
way.
interesting because I haven't actually listened to Toby Robbins or similar, but yeah,
It's the same concept. A lot of different people
yeah.
talk about that.
I
I
guess
think
it's what works, right?
yeah, and what works is more. I think more straightforward than people imagine most of the time. I think people distance themselves from big goals and thinking that they're unattainable, but really, as you're saying, they are achievable if you just take it one little piece at a time and
Yeah,
do that.
absolutely.
Consistency is the key, though, right?
Yeah. I definitely believe that. I think that discipline and consistency work together to overall, achieve what you want, I guess.
How much is community important to you in terms of continuing to be motivated and continuing to keep moving?
Wow, very good question. You know, Overall, the community is really what kept me to push forward, really, in the YouTube side of things, right? From the start, I guess that, since I started to produce tutorials and videos and people started to find them, helpful, overall, the feedback allowed me to keep pushing and to also believe in myself, right? It's very important because maybe from the start, and it happened to me. I believe that, well, my tutorial maybe is it's not maybe so great, but then when you receive the feedback, it's like, oh, actually, it's better than what I thought, and actually, I'm better explaining things also from what I thought, right? So overall, it's just the feedback what kept me pushing on, and it played a very important role to grow my YouTube channel, definitely, and also learn Unreal Engine for myself, right? Because it motivated me, right, to go ahead and keep on with the engine and believe that it was also the correct decision and things like that. So definitely the community played a huge role, and that's why I also give so much to it, right? From the huge Discord server, so to many events that I do, to selecting community members to participate in my videos, things like giveaways, things like that. I love to just work also with my community, right, and keep pushing.
Fantastic. Well, definitely a good number of them here. Another question from one is, Gorka, you've taught me so much about game dev and Unreal. How do I send you a little thank you?
Well, I mean, by being here is more than enough. Really, the support, as I mentioned, just in the comments and in the Discord and things like that, is what really just goes into me, and I continue to work on. Yeah, I have my Patreon page and whatever, but that's all apart. That's really to benefit you, actually, with all the resources, project files, and things like that I put in, right? And of course, that's also a thing that helps me to keep going. But really, the main support, even though it sounds stupid, but yes, comes from just, for example, you being here, right, listening and overall taking part in the conversation, right, in the chat and things like that. So what you're doing right now is more than enough, man.
Good answer. Another question that came in is I think I'm asking this right. Is Unreal 5 on Mac worth it? I don't know if you use it on a Mac, so
Yeah, good question. Me personally, haven't tried it, so I cannot really confirm that. But overall, I've heard good and bad things, for this new version of Apple Silicon. Overall, I think that if you want to, for example, learn Unreal, it's perfect. I think that it's going to be more than enough. You can go ahead and download it right now and start to learn Unreal and make some cool parts. Now, if you're going to go seriously about it, or you're already advanced in Unity or other game engine or whatever, and you want to, like, for example, make a serious commercial game or something similar, I believe that Windows is the best option, just overall, generally in the game of world, because of the tech features. But if you just want to learn Unreal, Apple Silicon will definitely work perfectly, I guess.
another great answer. And similarly, in our school as well, it's not as good on a Mac. There's no two
Yeah.
ways about that, but it's
Yes.
certainly functional and good for getting started.
Exactly. That's the thing.
Yep. Um, Someone asks, do you just learn on the go, not knowing everything, but on the fly? Interesting.
I guess that's for Unreal things, right? Good
Still doing
question.
that.
Yeah. So, for example, let's say this new feature game comes out, right? Let's take, I don't know, meta sounds, right? Overall, it's just going, open up Unreal Engine and checking out their documentation, right? Seeing a bit the basics and just trying out some basic stuff. Is I guess it's just in steps. First of all, it's learning the fundamentals, I guess, with just the Unreal official tutorial or documentation, and then also, as soon as more people specialize on that, right, and bring up also cool tutorials and resources, I also learn from them. I'm not the only one seeing YouTube videos to learn Unreal. Even though I make them myself, I also go ahead and just start to watch tutorials on YouTube and see how I can learn new, parts of Unreal. So really, I guess that also, as soon as kind of how the game engine works, you pick it up faster. But still, I need resources online to learn new features. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, same here. I run a school teaching Unreal Engine and I do tutorials
Yeah,
as
I
well,
imagine, right?
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
impossible
amazing.
to learn everything, from the go, right? And it's
Yeah,
easier when you have some, experience, but not instantly, right?
yeah. I mean, and there's a huge community, and I love the fact that people are putting so much out there for each other. We're all learning from each other to some extent. Sometimes I want it, a little more of a class and more structure. I actually take my own courses, but I have the luxury of doing that because of my school. But
Oh, nice.
but yeah, I still do plenty of YouTube learning as well. Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
that didn't
yeah.
exist when I was starting out in computer graphics. I'm old enough that it was books. That was all we had.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, recently, online, I guess, tutoring has really gone crazy. So it's really nice. Yeah.
Somebody is asking about your pipeline for recording and publishing your videos.
Oh, good question. So I have, let's say, perfected my workflow, right, to enable me to make a video pretty much every single day. So what I have is, first of all, a big Notion board, right? I have a big dashboard. It's absolutely huge with literally, like, let's say, hundreds of video ideas. So what I do is every day just go ahead and pick one, right? I could also sometimes what I do is have like a day where I go in and plan out a whole week, right, of videos, and I put this day is gonna be this next day this and this. But a lot of days I just pick up a video that I like, and as soon as I have that topic, what I do is decide what I need. Do I need a 3D model to download before starting the video or not. Do I need like a sword? Do I need like a sound if you're making a tutorial involving that? If so, I go ahead and pick it up, and if not, I just go ahead and open up Unreal Engine. Then next up, of course, open up OBS, and overall, it's just start recording, right? I have my kind of video layout, right? Where it's basically intro, right, showing up the results, and then the tutorial, and then outro. So what I do is just press record, say the intro, and instantly just begin with the tutorial as normal. It's also, I think, easier if I don't have my face cam, right? So that's why also, I can just be, more straightforward with this. But let's say that once the recording has ended, I go into my software, which I use DaVinci Resolve to edit. And what I have done is this template, right? I have this template that I built for, and I built this in the beginning when I actually started making videos, or like over 2 years ago. And it's this template of the things that I need for the video. So it's the music already played in the timeline, the outro, the sound effects, the text that I will put how to. I literally have it like in the template, how to, and then a space, and I can just quickly type it in, right? So it will enable me to kind of make it quicker. Just go ahead and import the video, put it in the timeline, and to overall just edit it very quickly, right? The cool thing is that I don't do a fancy editing or whatsoever. I go straight to the point. So as soon as I see the wavelength of the audio go down, I know that I need to make a cut because I stop speaking or whatever. So I just cut it up and that's it. The cool thing, I don't know how I do it, is that I thankfully don't make so many mistakes. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just you practice also those
Yep.
nearly 700 videos, right? I probably it's the same for you, Ed. But overall, I think that trying not to make mistakes saves me a lot of time in post production, right?
Oh yeah.
So as soon as the video is ready, right, just go ahead and export it, make the thumbnail, and upload it to YouTube, right? Very straightforward. Again, with the thumbnail, I have like my own. A lot of wind is coming in. I have like my own kind of layout where I drop the image in from Unreal, fill in the text with Unreal logo, and export, right? So really, as you can see, there's a lot of like templates that I made, and that's key, right? Sometimes you need to spend a little time from the start, even though you will not have a result, to then enable you to later on make videos, for example, faster, right? So that's really my workflow. It changes depending on the situation and things like that, but briefly, that's it.
Amazing. Yeah, and again, great advice for doing all sorts of things. If you can create structure for yourself, then you help yourself save
Yes,
time and reduce
definitely.
friction, being able to start. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Great
yeah, yeah.
advice.
And the same for making your game. Having a big Notion board with all the tasks they need to do. Then those are some things that I cover, like on my mentorship that I offer in one of my Patreon tiers, right? And it's really what I focus on for those that want to actually make a serious, commercial game, right? And I think that organization is also key for making your games.
What are you working on right now, game wise?
Well, right now, good question. Well, right now, of course, my main focus is YouTube. So it's really making tutorials, right? And this varies from quick 10-minute tutorials to 3-hour master classes, also free on YouTube. So let's say that each of those, let's say, big videos is its own project, right? But overall, if you're asking, externally, apart from that, really have a second course going on, right? Like let's say outside of YouTube, right, which is kind of with Game Dev TV. I don't know if you know about them, and it's basically making my second course, which is I guess more quality content. Let's say because I have the time and the team to make like let's say more quality educated videos, and then also have more challenge videos coming up involving again my community. So be sure for that in Discord. And then also I'm planning on starting a next commercial game. Now there's no really date for this, but I'm kind of assembling a team, let's say, and having them in my network. So when I'm ready to actually go, I will be ready. But also, I want to kind of make a podcast in the future. So this is actually a pretty cool opportunity to be here to see how you organize everything. for kind of the game Dev world. So yeah, that's kind of my plans right now. There's more that I don't, I'm not gonna share because surprise, right?
Yeah,
But yeah, that those are the overview, I guess we could say.
fantastic. Well, yeah, love to see the podcast go out there and definitely encourage that. It's a
Yeah,
great
absolutely. I
part
mean,
of
you will
community
definitely be
building.
a guest. I'm just saying.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, I'd love to.
That would be great. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I know that community is a huge part of it. It's the same deal here, and it's great to be able to do what you're doing. Has an amazing benefit of being able to bring people back into your world, connect with people, and it's very interesting how it works in that way. The more that you give, the more that things do come back to you. There's something kind of, I don't know, almost biblical about that about that principle. But
Yeah.
yeah, very cool to see what you're doing and how it's showing up in the world.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, man.
yeah, no, it's clear from all the people who are here as well. Another couple of questions from
Yeah.
the audience. Somebody asked, what are you most excited about in upcoming releases, and what areas of the engine do you think need the most attention? Epic, are you listening?
Good question. Well, the big thing here is that came out recently is motion matching, right? I
Mm,
don't know you also know about it, Ed, but
yeah,
look what you can end right with this little template that they released, and even the plugin itself that you can make your own database and things like that. I mean, I think that it will enable indie games to just look way smoother and look more like AAA games without the need of so much work, honestly, right? I mean,
yeah,
yes, still motion matching is huge and so on, but that's why also the template is out there and to kind of go ahead and get into it, right? So I'm very excited about that. I want to learn it even more. So this is an example of learning more things about Unreal, right? I need to go ahead and deep dive into it, see already resources out there and how others are doing it, and so on, right? And then later on, giving that information to yourselves in my style that it seems that some people like, right? In the way that I explain things, and then in areas of the engine that I think need more work. I mean, right now on top of my head, I can't really think of it. I mean, let's be honest. In general, the engine I like a lot. Sometimes I guess that it would be nice some more you know assistance in the connection between online repositories and things like that. But that's really of the engine. Like having your GitHub repo, so your project is backed up and more team members can access it. Um, but yeah, I mean, on top of my head, parts of the engine that needs more work. I mean, probably there's a million, but I cannot really think of it. Um,
it's just that good
it's
already.
hard. Yeah, it's not good, right? Well, definitely not. But
Yeah.
on top of my head, I don't know. Yeah, I guess
Well,
some
an
multiplayer
interesting
things. Yeah.
interesting question that came up there for me is how do you collaborate with other people on your projects? What do you use for collaboration?
Yes. So, good question. So what I do, as said, is of course set up a repository, right? I mean, this is its own world. There's multiple services, platforms, tools out there, but really the simplest way to go is using GitHub, right? GitHub is very popular. You probably everyone in the chat will kind of have heard it in the past. But overall, a repository is essentially like imagine your project packed up in a server, right? And it allows you to have first of all a version of each feature that you add and things like that. So if you mess up, you can go back, and also it enables you to, as Ed said, collaborate with others, right? So for example, you are working on your project, the repository is in GitHub in the cloud. You upload your changes. Now it's in the server, and then your teammate goes ahead and downloads the service, the changes in the server, right? And now it enables the other person to have the changes, right? And you don't need to like imagine manually change the hard drive and things like that. That's stupid, right? Now we have the tools to do all this online. So GitHub is the way to go. And then I would say that the simplest way is to also use GitHub Desktop, which is their own version control software, right? To also upload it. But I use personally SourceTree. I don't know if you know about it, but it's a bit more advanced, for all these kind of things. And also GitLab, which is similar to GitHub, but has some extra stuff, things like that. But I guess that the way to go, GitHub and GitHub desktop, right, is I guess the most straightforward way.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great advice to folks out there, and also interesting seeing what's happening with Unreal for Fortnite. I was curious if you, because that has its own kind of built-in mechanism, which is free. I'm curious if you're dabbling in that world as well.
Yeah, so actually, good question. I haven't actually uh, gone so much into Unreal 4, and I have played around with it a bit, but honestly, not so much. I don't know. It doesn't drive me crazy. I think it's cool, but overall, I prefer to kind of go into the native Unreal Engine and kind of build, uh, the majority of the systems by myself. But I think that for a lot of people, especially new ones that don't want to learn Unreal specifically for game dev, can use Unreal Editor for Fortnite to learn way easier, right? Because I mean, things are made already, and you can just drag and drop, for example, the uh, weapon spawner, and it will work. You can pick it up, things like that, right? So I think there's a huge opportunity. But personally, I haven't dived so much into it, but it's something that I want to do more often.
Cool. Yeah, it's great. I think it's great advice there for people starting out, because it does remove a lot of the friction, things that can take years to learn in
Yeah,
the main
that's
engine.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
really good call. Some last question here we got from the audience, as we're wrapping up,
yeah.
is what should you focus on before doing actual projects? I already know the basics and have some knowledge of C++, but not in game dev.
Yeah, so in terms of knowledge, on like technical knowledge, there's not really an exact, formula or amount of features that you need to learn, right? But of course, everyone has their own, like, let's say, knowledge and, let's say, level on where they decide to step up into an actual project. I would say that overall, learning, let's take Unreal, for example, learning the basics of blueprints, right? How to make them work, how to create, let's say, actors that can move around. For example, simple AI that can, pick a random point, go to you and attack, kind of that area, right? Is what really I think you're gonna need to start to create games. The same for materials, really learning the basics on just dragging up the albedo textures, the specular with their appropriate outputs is really what you need. So really, I mean, with the basics, you can start to get into it, right? I guess that when you step it up is where you start to use your, for example, your code more modular, right, and split things into different classes and so on. And it's things that will, make the project a bit more, let's say, efficient in the long term, but are not really necessary, right, for the beginning. But yeah, I mean, really, as you go, you will start to kind of know if you are manageable for a project, right?
Great answer. I mean, I used to be a software developer in my previous life, so I've lived that reality a
Nice.
little bit.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, great advice all round. As we're wrapping up, is there anything else that you would like to share? And we've already shared your links in various chats from the YouTube channel and the Patreon. Is there anything anywhere else people can follow you, or anything else you'd like to share?
Yeah, well, really, I mean, like I mentioned, the priority one is YouTube, right? Where you have nearly 700 videos, right? I guess it's a huge library if you want to learn Unreal and game dev in general. I mean, imagine if you were to watch all those 700. Like, I mean, you would like master everything, right? But I guess that really the cool thing is the Discord server. I think that you can get to know a lot of other game devs that want to embark in projects and possibly go with you. You will also have the opportunity to to kind of have my help, right? And maybe we solve some things. You can get help from others, share your progress, and also potentially get noticed by me and invited into one of my videos to work or something similar, right? Because I'm always every single day in my Discord just going ahead and checking everything up. um, so my Discord is basically Gorka Games, literally just type like that. I mean, you can search it on the Discovery server, or you can also access it through the link. It's all my videos. I don't know if I can pull up the link here, but basically, Gorka Games is the same name as my channel. You can access it also through my Discovery channel. So yeah, basically that.
Fantastic. Well, we'll definitely drop those links in. I'm sure they're probably being dropped in right now. And one last question. I keep saying that,
Yeah,
but I'm curious what you think about the sort of changes going on, because this sort of stuff didn't used to be possible. People like maybe could mod a little bit, and there wasn't really so much. At the beginning of the games industry, everybody was trying to. It was an indie developer because there was no big companies making games. But then it became this big kind of corporate game with big likes of Microsoft and Blizzard and whatnot. And there's merging at this point, I guess some of them. But it seems like a re-rising of independent game developers. I'm curious of your perspective, what you see out there.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, definitely through this couple of years, the indie industry has grown a lot. Overall, especially lately, I feel like I've been seeing a lot of news where people are not happy with AAA games. It could be like just you know trends or whatever, right? But overall, there's a lot of people looking into indie games, and I think that now is the best time to overall become also an indie game because you have all these tools available, right? First of all, everything now you can work online, right? As we kind of mentioned before, Unreal Engine's totally free. You can use it. YouTube free. Learn how to use it. Steam, you just need to pay like a little $100 fee at the start, and then they return it back as soon as you start to make sales. So technically, we could also put that as free. So overall, it's just I guess time. The only thing that you need, right? Time and dedication. Make sure that you actually like it, and that's really how you could kind of become an indie game dev. And yeah, and definitely now the trend is going up. A lot of people are looking more into indie games than AAA games. That is actually proved. So I guess that's the way. And it doesn't even need to be to the route of Steam. It could be itch.io, where it's super easy to upload a game or things similar, right? I encourage a lot of people to create their own channel in YouTube and post devlogs. I think that that's one of the best ways to advertise your games right now, and also have fun making videos. So yeah.
That's great. Yeah, and really great advice all around. And I think again is so applicable to most types of endeavors in life. I think beyond games, but certainly very specific to games. Very encouraging to people. I think we're seeing a lot more people becoming interested in. And I think you're showing people what's possible is really important. People being able to see that it's possible, especially young people starting out, but also people who are making career transitions. We see a lot of people
Yeah.
getting past, maybe they've been in visual effects for 20 years like me and are becoming interested in making moves. We're seeing a lot of people like that too. So it's
Yeah,
a cool.
absolutely. I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Gorka. I really appreciate your being here and sharing all of your wisdom and experience
Thank
and
you. I really
passion as
appreciate
well.
that. Yeah,
You bet.
it was a pleasure. I mean, I had so much fun here. Actually, like time went so fast. And
Yep.
definitely, I mean, it was a pleasure. Thanks everyone that tuned in, from my side and from CG Pro side, right, to go ahead and listen to the podcast. And yeah, right now, let's just go ahead, put on your work, right? Go ahead and start to create awesome games. And definitely with time and dedication, you will become a successful game dev, and you will manage to have your game out there and Steam highlighted, and other people playing it, and overall just become a game dev and get your dreams out. So definitely.
Love the spirit and the passion and the encouragement and showing that it's possible and how to do it as well. It's been a pleasure talking with you, Gorka. Thank you so much, and
Thank you for inviting me. It was a
you bet.
pleasure.
Thank you also to our audience. Thanks for all of the new friends that we met through your channel, Gorka, and through our community. Thanks for joining in and asking great questions. Sorry if we didn't get to all of the answers, but I think I got most of them. But to keep in touch, Gorka's a very connecting person, so we've shared a lot of ways of connecting with him, and just I echo the spirit of it. Go out there, make cool stuff, do things that you love, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Our open day is on July 9th. If you want to come join us at CG Pro, it's free and you're very welcome to jump in. Another 2 weeks we'll be on another podcast, and hope you all have a great day out there, and look forward to seeing you soon.